So Fred and I are your hosts for this next section. And I know you're used to us like moving traffic around and sharing music and stuff, but the heart behind all of this is that we are team and leadership coaches, and our specialty is helping groups working collaboratively. So bringing out the best in people, working together, whether that's team coaching, professional trainings in collaboration skills, or the behind the scenes helping leaders like NIMAC design an interactive and collaborative program. So you're going to get both Fred and I teaching what we love in this next section. So here is our to start our presentation. We have 1 hour together. It's going to be very, as you will not be surprised, it's going to be very interactive, developing a productive and collaborative relationship to change. We know this conference, we will tell you that we have no financial disclosures. We have nothing to disclose. So I'll turn it over to you, Fred, to set the agenda.
Yeah, our agenda for this session is we're going to really work with you to identify a change that you are going through that's meaningful to you. And then Erica will present a model for change and transition. And then we'll present an exercise, an activity that you'll be able to do in breakout rooms and small groups to work a skill and a behavior from improvisational theater that's highly applicable to how we respond to uncertainty and changing conditions. And then we'll have time at the end to make sure you land in application, being able to apply what you're taking away. So as Erica mentioned, this will be interactive. And yeah, we appreciate being here. Thank you to the NIMAC Leadership Committee for asking us to be here. The first step is just to acknowledge the difference between change and transition. So when we talk about change is situational, it's external. It sort of happens to us. It's something in our environment or our situation changing. We didn't think it was going to rain, and then suddenly it rains. Whereas transition is psychological. That's something that's internal to us. It's sort of in how we respond to the fact that it's raining. And oftentimes adapting to change takes time. That human process takes a little bit of time to figure out how to respond to those changing conditions, especially in the instances where we are in a group or we're in an environment where we're working with other people, we're interdependent, and we're navigating uncertainty together. So there's a prompt in chat. I'd love you to think for yourself, what is a change that you are dealing with in a group? So what's a change that you're dealing with? Maybe it's challenging, you have energy around it. Yeah, so we see NIMAC ending as one of them. Certainly that's something that's in discussion. Thank you, Joanne. And so we have other examples coming in. Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Something that you are facing with other people where the navigating of it, the transitioning to meet that change will depend on working with other people, maybe collaborative conversations. Yeah, we see work team reorganization. Thank you. Submitting an abstract to my team and being told I can't publish half of it. Ha. Yeah, so great. Right. That was an external thing you had no control over. And the question now is how to respond to that. Thank you. Yeah, Lynn, kid graduating from high school. Right. And so in that instance, your group might be your family unit. Anyone who is affected by that, who will be part of the transition to meet that change. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Erica.
Sure. All right, so we're getting great examples in here. The model we're going to use from organizational change is about a group going through a change. And almost any change that you're involved with involves other people. So as Fred mentioned, the group, think about the group that's affected by this, not just you, not just your kid, who else, or like maybe your group is your family unit, maybe your group is your team, like we're seeing. And for you to get the most out of this presentation, let's move this out of the theoretical and have you get really personal, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this presentation. That's how you're going to get an insight that will be practical and useful to you. So we're going to be asking you a lot of questions to ask you to really dig into that a little bit. So the first question is, who are some other people who are involved in this change? And we're going to make a word cloud. I'm going to show the word cloud on the screen because I want to invoke this sense of all the people for whom we are doing this session today, the people who are involved with you in this process. You don't have to give full names. You can say my child. You can say, Bob. So think about, and then in a moment, I'm going to ask you to choose one person within that ecosystem that for whom, if you had a really collaborative and productive relationship with them during this change, it would make the biggest difference, regardless of what state that you're in right now, how you're seeing their relationship. But we're all going to do this session today caring in service of a relationship with one person. So I'm going to show the word cloud now, and we'll see what we've got up here of just in general, filling the room of other people involved in the changes that we are workshopping today. So we can see we've got, oh, Alyssa's up there. We've got coworkers, patients, colleagues, boss. And now as you're really thinking about what is that change, choose one person and go ahead and type their name or a nickname or something just to honor that you're going to put your attention on one person for the rest of this session. We're starting to see some specific names up here. Nobody take it. If you're going to take it personally that your name is Melissa, you're like, oh, is it me? Well, hopefully it is, because this person is going to keep you in mind for the rest of the presentation here or work today. All right, this is our group that we're working with today. I'm going to take down the Mentimeter. I'm going to put my slides back up. We're using, and this will be just a teeny bit of talkie time to present the model. And the model we're using is Bridges' model of transition. Wiggle your fingers. Have you ever heard of this model? I'm seeing like, no, I have not heard of this. It's been around for a while. Well, that's great. That's why we're here. So this model has been around for a while, and it focuses on the behavioral aspect of change, the human dimension of change. As Fred cued up there, a change could be like, we're merging departments, we're closing the organization. Like that can happen suddenly. This is a model that's complementary to all the strategic planning, all those external changes. What's the human dimension of change? Because as we know, there can be a gap, right, between what's looking at like on paper and then what's the human dimension of change. So in this model, I'm going to show my slides here. There's two axes, and the axes are about importance and time. So this is a model. Think of the group that you're in. So as I step you through the next 3 slides, think about the situation that you're in and map yourself into this. So the bottom axis is over time. So over time, there's a natural transition in the group to me moving from the primary importance and energy being in letting go of whatever is ending. Then moving into this zone that we call the messy middle. Some people call it it's called originally in the model the neutral zone, but it's not very neutral. This is the messy middle, right? This is when you haven't really fully let go. Maybe you're still mourning, maybe you're still grieving, maybe there's still questions of what all is ending. And you're not firmly planted in the new beginning either. So that's the messy middle. And that's where obviously a lot of application of the behavioral skills matters. So in a little bit more detail, letting go, something has ended, people are processing loss, common feelings, denial, anger, loss, disorientation, sadness. Maybe that's where that's important to be acknowledging and working with that reality of the humans involved. Messy middle that I just mentioned. Okay, uncertainty, confusion, hope, excitement, upset, back and forth. Messy middle. Groups go through this process. It's not a problem of the people in your group. If you've got all these feelings going around in your group, this is normal that these things are this all of these feelings are going to be mixed up. There's not a your team is not broken. Your organization is not broken if these feelings are in the room. It's just the messy middle. And another name for this is called in decision making processes with groups. It's called the groan zone, right? It's like, ah, can feel that way. And then the new beginning zone, this is a natural surge of energy. When there's more alignment, people are more, they understand what's been lost, they've processed it further. There's starting to be more iterations of the creativity of what's possible in this new zone. Okay. I told you to be thinking about yourself as you went through this and think about this other person. Now we have the question for you. Thinking about this model, where do you think you primarily are in the change that you identified? Which of those three zones? And then the second question on the poll that Fred's put up is where do you think the other person is primarily? And the third question, does it seem like you're in the same place or not? What do you think? And we're just giving a couple of minutes for those answers to come in.
Oh yeah, we see responses slowing down, so I'll give a little bit more time here for this poll. And we'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And here's what we've got.
Okay. All right, there's a beautiful little arc there of where people are. So we've got about 20% of people in that letting go phase. A whole bunch of you identifying in the messy middle and some in the new beginning. And it looks like the people you're working with, there's a similar arc. Who knows? But when we look at the meta question, about half of the people are saying, I think I'm in the same phase as this other person. I think I'm in a different phase. Okay. So something that can be helpful when you're going through a change, when something big has happened, is simply the process of being able to put your finger and saying, you know what, this is where I am, right? This is where most of my energy is. And then also that exercise you just did, where's this other person? Because it may bring up a little bit more compassion, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more strategy to understand. Because it makes sense you're in different places. If you were, for example, one of the leaders of a change, if you were involved in that decision-making process, you're probably ahead of the rest of the group, right? You may have more of a sense of control. You may have known this was happening further ahead of time. You may feel like if you have more status or power in the organization, you may feel like you're less at threat for how this change is going to affect your day-to-day. Or maybe if he even's going to make things better for you or you had more agency in it. Think about the other person involved. What's their relationship to this change? Do they have a similar role? Do they have similar status? Do they have more at stake, less at stake? This is a first step of thinking about how do I work with somebody else, is to get a sense of where are they, where am I, how do we each make sense, how do our feelings make sense? But did you want to add anything to that? No, you're right here.
I think that's great. Yeah, thank you, Erica.
Okay. And so I'm going to turn it over here in a moment to Fred, and we're going to move into some really active exercises that help you work a skill that to bridge across these differences, regardless of, whether it seems like we're in the same phase and we're facing similar things, or whether, wow, we're really having different experiences right now, and we're moving through this together. So the next step is going to be really active, and there will be breakout rooms. So, all right, I'll turn it over to you, Fred.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. So as Erica said, gonna look at this behavioral skill that has to do with how to collaborate with people across differences. From the world of improvisational theater. So by a show of wiggly fingers, have people heard the phrase yes and in a collaborative context? Yeah, I see some hands. Has anyone here ever done improvisational theater? I see. I think I saw somebody. We're not going to ask you to do that. We're just going to ask you to have a couple conversations in a structured way. But to give a little bit of context of why we're invoking this. Oh, great. Yeah, Kimberly is part of a team building. A great place to inject some improvisational theater, because improv is all about collaboratively creating a shared reality. So it essentially is distilled down a set of behavioral skills that involve working with people, often across differences, to, in an improvisational context, build something from nothing. So those skills are very distilled because in a purely improvisational context, people are constantly responding to the new information the other people offer in order to build something collaboratively. And so the skills involved in that are these skills of responding to changing conditions, responding to uncertainty, and working with other people. So the conversation we're going to ask you to have, which first Erica and I will demo, is the following. You are going to be invited into a breakout room, and we're going to ask you to plan a picnic. You really care about planning this picnic. This is an important picnic, albeit imaginary, but you really care about planning this picnic. And you're going to take turns making suggestions about the picnic. Could be about where the picnic is located, or what food to offer, who to invite, what activities to include. Picnics can be a lot of different things. So you're going to work in these groups, taking turns making suggestions about planning a picnic. The caveat is, for this first conversation, when you respond to the person before you, you need to respond with the words yes, but. Yes, but. So Eric and I will, thank you, Eric. We will demonstrate this. And in a moment, there will also be instructions that will show up in chat to kind of show you how that script goes. But we're going to demonstrate this now, what it might look like for the two of us to try to plan a picnic or to plan a picnic, and responding to each other's suggestions with the phrase yes, but, and then giving a reason why, I don't know, why the other person's suggestion maybe isn't great, offering a correction or a addendum or maybe a better suggestion. We'll see how it goes. Erica, if we're going in alphabetical order, you're first. And so let's have you make a suggestion about a picnic.
Okay. Fred, let's go on a picnic in the big open field in the middle of the town.
Yes, but I happen to know there's a lot of bugs, like kind of the creepy crawly bugs in that field. So maybe we could do it. I think there's a gazebo like on the edge of that park near the center of town. So maybe let's just have the picnic in that gazebo.
Yeah, but we're going to invite I'm going to invite like 50 people. So they're not all going to fit in the gazebo. So I don't know, maybe we can rent a whole bunch of chairs and tables to put around the gazebo.
Yeah, but then I don't know, a gazebo. I don't know. I think that's going to be expensive. Also, I think the cool thing about a gazebo is it's actually intimate. So I think piling 50 people around the edge of a gazebo will be like, that just feels weird. Let's just do it seems great to invite as many people as you want. Let's do a thing in a bowling alley, like maybe a picnic in a bowling alley that could accommodate a lot of people.
Yeah, but we're totally losing the point of it being a picnic. It's spring. We want to be outside. Okay, so do we get the idea?
Yeah, that's how it works. Kevin has just put in chat, or what's appeared in chat is the instructions for how this is going to go. And so you're going to get an invitation to join a breakout room. And let me explain how this is going to go, because there's a lot of you. And we hope all of you go into a breakout room. It might not happen that you do. So in the background, you're going to get an invitation to a breakout room, and then we're going to take a couple moments just to make sure, about a minute, to make sure the rooms are balanced, so that if you're in a breakout room, you're in a viable group. Then Erica will give a verbal instruction to the breakout rooms to begin the exercise. And so that is what's going to happen right now, is you're going to get an invitation to join these rooms. And I see that has happened. And so go in, introduce yourselves, and then Erica will give an announcement to begin. Welcome back. That was a fast 10-second transition, shall we say, back into the main session. We are curious to know, in a word or two, how would you describe that conversation? And so feel free to share that in chat. In a word or two, how would you describe that conversation? Jennifer says, annoying, right away. Jennifer was ready with that. And it could be reflecting on how it was in the breakout room, or if you were here in the main session and you watched me and Erica do it, you could be describing that as well. Increasingly difficult, says Michelle. Circular, says Melissa. It was fun, says Raven. That's great. Yeah, it's kind of an improv game, so it could be fun if you're all on the same page about playing the yes but game. Stilted, contentious, argumentative, chaotic, frustrating, oppositional, escalating tension, difficult, uncomfortable, very defensive, never making progress. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a few that point out sort of the cumulative nature of that, the cumulative nature of a lot of yes buts, and how it becomes increasingly difficult or increasingly frustrating over the course of 2.5 minutes. So it's a sort of a powerful phrase, we might say. And so think back to the change you identified. Think back to that person who you specifically invoked at the start of the session. And just ask yourself, think to yourself, how prevalent is that yes, but phrase or energy in conversations around this change? And you can just think this to yourself. How prevalent is that energy or phrase? And you might reflect, how much is the other person bringing it, and how much are you bringing it? Certainly, if we can get settled into yes, but oftentimes it makes sense. We want to protect something. We're not ready to plan a picnic and go to a big park with 50 people. And yet the effect of accumulating a bunch of yes buts will be all of those words that came up in chat. So I'm just reading Lynn's message. We decided to plan an after prom event. It was difficult, and I was left that others didn't care about anyone but their own kids. Lynn, and I think you spend so much time caring about other people's kids too. So yeah, I imagine that's very frustrating. Erica, I'll turn it back to you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to share a visual of what that I find helpful. Another one of those visual orientations. That yes, but conversation, often when we're working with another person, so imagine these two triangles are two different people, that yes, but can feel like, okay, I'm over here, and then I'm like, yeah, but this, yeah, but this, yeah, but this, right? And we're just batting back and forth across the mountaintop, right? And like Fred said, there's something else going on, right? If you're in this tennis racket of a frustrating conversation, there's something else going on. So pulling back, I think of this often if I find myself being yes, but, or the other person is, and even Fred and I will do this sometimes in our, when we're trying to design something together, right? We'll be like, wait, what are you protecting? Like, what's going on below the surface here? Because this is an intelligent, caring person, the person involved in this change, the person involved with you. What's going on below the surface? So I think of it as a call to understand what's important to them that's showing up as like not the gazebo, right? But there's something under that. So I think of this when you're in this energy, it's a call to slow down, listen, think about what's below the surface. What are you protecting? What are they protecting? Can you articulate that truth? Can you ask a question? In the change model, you're especially going to come into a lot of this in that first part phase, right? Letting go. Like, so taking the time to understand what's actually going on that maybe the other person is trying to keep in the room that makes them not just ready to like, all right, let's do it. Sure. Right. Not ready to jump in and not even necessarily ready to like brainstorm in that middle. So the yes of the yes, but is the what are all the truths that are present and how can we bring those forth and allow multiple truths to exist at the same time, as opposed to my truth of not wanting to be bit by a tick is going to negate your truth of, you know, wanting to be outside. Like, can we have both, right? Instead of using that but, it just negates the other truth when in reality, like this visual on the screen, there are multiple truths present. And if you look at the visual, you can see, like a mountain range, there's often an area of connection. There's often quite a bit of overlap. So there's two things you can do to help move into a more collaborative relationship with the other person and with what's going forward. One, if you really have totally different mountains going on, at least being willing to name and acknowledge that, so that you are acknowledging where there are differences. You're acknowledging what's important to each other. And then secondly is looking for that overlap area. That overlap area could be in your values, it could be in ideas, it could be in actions, it could just be in what's important to each of you. So the next round, round 2, you're going to get to heal your relationships with the people in your breakout rooms because you're going to be back in the same rooms and we're going to give you a much more productive, playful response of how to deal with creating a picnic. For this next round, just forget everything that happened before. You're going to plan the picnic from scratch again. And you're going to use the same group, same order. This time, Fred mentioned in the beginning, like yes and is sort of the classic improv. We're going to do a little more applied version of it, because yes and can sometimes be like yes and this and this and this and this. And we're going to give you a little more sophisticated version. The prompt that you're going to say, and we'll have it in chat so you can keep track of it, is yes, what I like about that is. You're going to fill in the blank with something you like or appreciate about what they said. It's like aiming for that zone below their mountaintop. And then you make your offer based on what you just said. Not based on what you were thinking from your own mountaintop, but based on whatever you acknowledged that you like or appreciate or can see as important in what they just said and what they offered. Fred and I will do a demo of this, and then we will send you into the rooms again, and you'll have time to see what happens. In this demo, the yes means we're going to roll with it because this is an improv. We're going to roll with the yes. We're not going to be like, yeah, okay, I like that you have a thought. But we're going to actually be like, we're going to lean into the yes, we're going to do it, and we're going to find something like about it. And that sometimes is just a good activity to experience yourself too.
I will say, in real life, if you can genuinely say to someone that you disagree with, yes, I really appreciate that you have passionate thoughts, and you totally don't agree with anything they've shared, that acknowledgement is still very powerful. So out in the world, yes can be a tool of acknowledgement, but here in this exercise, yeah, we're also going to use it as a tool of agreement.
Yeah, we'll disentangle that afterwards, but for the exercise, we're going to use this tool agreement. Okay, so Fred, let's do it again. We're doing brand new picnic, brand new attitude. Okay.
Brand new.
All right, Fred, let's have a picnic and let's have it in the big open field in the middle of the town.
Yeah, yes. What I like about that is I really like environments where people can kind of move around at will. So let's invite a bunch of people, and maybe we could take advantage of the size of the space by having different activity stations, like in the big open field.
Yeah, what I like about that is it's awkward for people to get together without things to do. So having activity stations will give people like kind of natural clusters within like a big group and a big field. And let's send out a survey ahead of time and see like what activities people I don't know, like what they like and what they maybe remember from other kinds of fairs or events that they've done.
Yes, what I like about that is it's nice when planning something to know that the people are going to like what you're planning. It's such a bad feeling to be like, we set all this stuff up and no one actually likes it. Um, and let's create a little like a little team picnic chat beforehand so we can
Mm.
tell people what the activities are going to be and then they can be in the chat and hype it up and kind of build morale and group identity before the picnic.
Ooh, yes. What I like about that is it actually feels really good to go to something and know kind of what you're going into. And maybe we can use this to organize teams ahead of time. So people can have teams and costumes and they can like show up at the picnic all ready to go, like jazzed up.
Yeah, so that's the idea. That's the demo.
Okay.
Easy to easy to get carried away into.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So
So
with
yeah, the
no
process will
further
be the
ado.
same. What's going to happen is you'll be reinvited back into that breakout room you were in. Uh, Hang tight. We still might need to move people around a bit, but Erica will give that verbal prompting, broadcast that message to say go ahead and begin. And for anyone who wants to be in a Spanish-speaking conversation, that will be the first room. So you'll be invited into a different room, but feel free to go to the breakout room menu and navigate up to the Vamos a Charlar en Español room to have a Spanish-speaking version of the conversation.
Mhm.
So we're going to go ahead and open those rooms now. You'll get that invitation in.
And I'll give the verbal in
Yep.
to tell you when to start. And you'll have 3 whole minutes once you get in there, once I say start.
Welcome back to the song. Thank you for being a friend. But I don't want to be presumptuous. Please share in chat in a word or two, just as you did. So yeah, we've already got Valentina's already on it, much easier. So curious, in a word or two, how would you describe that conversation? Oh, a bunch of productives. Collegial. Yeah, positive. Yeah, flip. Yeah, that's a good acknowledgement, right? You actually had a plan in the making. It's something just worth noting that in 2.5 minutes, bat and yes, but back and forth does little more than produce frustration. It doesn't really produce a plan, but it sounds like leading with these sentence starters, you did get a plan in the making. Feels collaborative, much easier to build rapport, much more positive. Yeah, interesting. A lot of I want to go to our picnic. Yeah, so I said these were imaginary, but there's nothing stopping you from getting the contact info of your group and planning this picnic. Why not? Yeah, empathic is a nice recognition, right? So as Erica said with that mountain slide, acknowledging what's underneath, not just the positions, but the interests, if you look at it sort of from like a negotiation standpoint. I will yeah, thanks Paul for sharing those thoughts in chat. It's great to see. Um Oh, and Lynn has invited all of us to a chili cook-off. Notice we didn't get an invitation to the prom, but we got an invitation to this round's plan. Eric, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks,
Sure.
all.
All right, what you just did in 2 minutes. We have led this exercise sometimes instead of the next round of this might be to do this with someone you're involved with the change, right? And do it with a real thing that you're planning, right? Or a real thing that you're working with. We've found we've done that with groups, and people have literally created things in 2 minutes because they share a goal, they share something they're working on, they've created something in 2 minutes and actually gone and implemented them. So this is powerful. I'm going to share, and we'll share in chat, also share on the screen here, some other just variations of this, because some you might think like, won't people catch on if I'm just using this? Won't it be weird? I mean, first, no. People love someone else reaching across to them and saying, something that's really important about what you just said, or something that's really insightful, or what I appreciate about it, what I recognize in it. This is that reaching into the mountain energy, right? Reaching into that shared energy. Reach down into that area of overlap where you can appreciate what I value about what you are offering, what I appreciate about it. I have found that sometimes I'm listening to a suggestion or an idea, and my first reaction is just I I don't see anything I like about this, right? Like, oh, bad idea, dumb idea. But on principle, and Fred can attest to this, he'll hear me say, what I like about what you just said, and then my brain will go find something to like about it. And then by the time I get to the end of the sentence, I'm like, wow, that is a pretty cool idea, right? So doing that extra work to not be just in that instinctual reaction. When we're dealing with change, uncertainty, our instinctual reaction is like, no, right? To do that, those sentences that we shared up there, those sentence starters that you just practiced, those can give your brain that little pause that it needs to find something to like, to find something to build with, to drop, even in that 2-minute 3-minute conversation, you all dropped below that line simply because of how you were talking with each other. So the sentence starters are in chat. The slides are obviously being shared from the conference. So I recommend doing this. Do it to someone, anyone, and people love it, and it instantly builds relationship. So now we're bringing the pieces back together. Think about the change you're dealing with. Think about the change you're facing. Think about the other person. We're going to now look a little bit more into, think about how could you use this with them and what's going on. So I'm going to put this is a thoughtful mentee we're going to put in chat here. And then I'll put it back onto the model, but let's just look at it for a moment. The first question is going to be, when you think about this other person, what would be something, or this context, what would it be something that would be useful for you to acknowledge or say yes to? Something else that's in the room that maybe you haven't actively acknowledged someone's feelings, what's at stake for them, what's important to them, what's being lost, what the opportunity is, something that has not been acknowledged would be useful for you to say yes to, in terms of acknowledging, like, this is a mountain, it's here, or maybe even actively say yes to, be willing to lean into it. That's going to be the first question. I'm going to introduce the questions, then I'll be quiet so everyone will have a chance to answer. And then question number 2 is what's an offer that you can make? That's the and part. What's something that you can add to now that you realize what's going on, you've spent some time the same way you just did? What's something new that you could offer based on a more understanding of where that other person is or the situation? So we're going to put the link in chat, and we will share the results just to get a sense of what's out there and what people are processing, to get a sense of the variety. But we'll just be quiet for a moment while everyone has a chance to answer this. Then I'll give some final input based on the model. That link should be in chat.
I'm not sure if you folks realize this, but the link is taking us to a different question.
Okay. All right, we've got the wrong link. That makes sense, because I'm like, wow, nobody's responding. Okay.
I wasn't sure if that was intentional, but yeah.
No, that was just
end the session with a real gotcha.
Woo! I'm like, boy, nobody is responding. Okay, let's go ahead, and it would take me a second to fix that. So go ahead and just, if you're willing to share in chat the answer to either or both of those questions. And we'll just see what you were trying to write. Thank you so much for letting us know. There was some last minute changes to the Mentimeter, totally on me.
Mentimeter me fue por mí.
All right. And then we'll go back to and if you're just thinking about it, yes, changes to our programs. Yes, it is helpful simply to be acknowledging the change that's happening. Thank you, Lindsay. Someone has a different perspective than you. Yeah, something you can accommodate, right? Something that's, and maybe there's a way. So the benefit of these conversations is there may be a way to find there may be a way to find some more win-win the further you drop down that mountain. If you're just arguing at the top, there's less and less bandwidth, but the more you can understand what's under that, what do they value, what's important to them, what needs are needing to be addressed, it's like you have more like artistic territory to find solutions. So if you find yourself battering back and forth, ask the questions to go below that. And for the last minute here, I'm going to share some of our slides that have some specific instructions related to the phase of the change that you're in, or you perceive yourself in, or you perceive the other person. So here we are in the slides. I'm going to pop through here. And this is where we are. So overall, a mapping, when we combine the improv model, the improv behavioral model, and this collaborative response to change, the bridges transition model, you can see that generally you're going to be moving from a lot more of yes in the letting go and more anding possibilities in the new beginning. And the messy middle is where you have to have that agility to go back and forth between what do I need to acknowledge, what's going on, what's possible, oh, back to what is acknowledging. So if you find for that letting go phase, if you're dealing with someone in the letting go phase, this is a place to focus on acceptance. These are some questions that you may want to ask yourself or each other in conversation. What's true? What do we need to let go of? What support do we need? In the messy middle, this is about where are people's priorities, where are the opportunities, what can be created together, the toggling back and forth, really being curious and creative here, back and forth, curious. What's really going on? Be creative. And the new beginning, this is in a time when it's really important to emphasize the successes you're having and get that positive momentum going. How can we experiment? How can we adjust? There were about 15% of you who identified as, hey, I'm really in the new beginning. This is a part where you have a lot more iteration, and it's really important to keep the focus on the positive and get those early wins in. So that now you can answer that link in chat about your takeaways from today. And this has been Fred and I presenting about this whole process and the human dimension of change. And thank you. I appreciate NIMAC team for having us be able to be here in our role as presenters. And so now I am going to turn it over to, is it Alyssa? I had to look at my notes.